front end because front ends are more indirect. So you see it like if you try to make things too abstract or too general, they're not really useful. So there's kind of two different axes you got to think of on there, where it's like the state of the awareness and sophistication of your idea, and also if it's a front end or back end. So you can use offer leads on a front end. It just you're still going to be a little more indirect, I guess. You can see like someone doesn't really have any promises or anything like that. But it's, so in this case, if you're doing a book offer, it's just send me your address, and it's all about a book he wants to send you. That's an offer.
I got a quick question.
Sure.
So, like Bitcoin is a good example. It's a new market. Now it's gotten old. So, looking at one of the promos, like Bitcoin Blueprint, which is direct, would you say that promo would probably work better in the back end since it's so direct, and you would probably need to know the person?
I guess I was to say that I wouldn't. You got to think through before you write the idea if it's a front end or back end, because I don't think you could just turn that promo to a back end and have it work either. I mean, it's very direct, but it's very direct for a front end, which is more indirect. Does that make sense?
I'm going to answer that a little bit. Like I agree with Ryan, right? But I'm going to answer it just slightly different. As the market becomes more aware of an idea, you need a deeper mechanism to catch their attention. If the market is unsophisticated and unaware, you could come out and say, hey, you could turn $50 into a gazillion with this Bitcoin blueprint. When everybody starts doing that, the market becomes distrustful of that. Then you're going to have to add a mechanism to it. Turn $50 into 500,000 using my T345 secret Bitcoin indicator. So you're adding an indicator that would differentiate yourself from the rest of the Bitcoin stuff out there on the market. If you're the only thing out there on the market in a hyper-aware market, you can come right at it and be very direct at it. If you're in a very crowded marketplace, you got to start adding mechanisms and different pattern interrupts. So I don't think that promo would work on the front end or back end really anymore because it's missing those components. Right now, the market has been very saturated with Bitcoin stuff, and that promo doesn't really have a unique mechanism that separates it from the competition, since so much competition is out there now. When we put that promo out there a while ago, there was not a lot of competition, so it could work.
So talk about offers, most direct promise. Example of this: $50 marijuana blueprint, turn $50 bill into a massive fortune. Again, like some of these things, like you don't want to generalize too much because this one does have info gaps in it. So it is kind of about the secret. The secret is the $50 marijuana blueprint, which is not really explained in the lead at all, but it's definitely a promise. I mean, it's turned $50 bill into a massive fortune. Problem solution. He's a little bit harder to write in financial copy. You don't see a lot of examples on it. You do see a lot like in the health industry or survival business. In this case, it's talking about a particular kind of water that makes you older. That would be the problem. I think a lot of people are already aware of the problem that they don't have enough money. So it's kind of a little bit too, you have to go back 100 years to make money now, or you don't have enough money. Secret lead, they need Social Security. Joe kind of went over the template of this, how the rest of that looks. Predictions, getting a lot more indirect now. End of America, of course. The last is probably the hardest one to pull off. It's very indirect. If it works, it could work great. It would be a story lead. I have a story I got from kind of an infamous DSL we studied on a copy call a couple years ago. Probably my favorite promo of all time, even though it's complete bullshit, called Lotto Crusher. You should read the lead on here. It's all about beating the lotto. You should read the story on it, though. It's a great story, even though it really makes no sense. And I think it's one of those stories. I know a bunch of Romanians wrote it. Nothing against the country of Romania, but a lot of scammers are from that country for whatever reason. I think it's all just made up. But if you can find a true story, it's very compelling. And we'll get into a little later, like maybe even on Monday, about kind of the real basics of storytelling. But I'll just tell you now, in general, like a great story has really three parts. It has the setup, the plot, and the punchline. Setup, plot, punchline. If you're looking here, you can even, I don't think I have the whole lead here. If you want this promo, the transcript, just hit me up and you can read the whole thing. I think I just put one page in here. So creating your lead, kind of like a step-by-step, all right? Like step one, you start with your big idea, as Joe's made pretty clear. If you don't have a big idea, don't work on your lead yet. Number two, will you go direct or indirect? You know, you kind of want to have an idea of what lead type you're going to use before you get started and why you're doing that. Three, what promises can you make? Need promises. Earlier up you can get it in the copy, the better. What are the most compelling things about your idea? And look at those compelling things, step 5, and like what incongruent information can you connect to create a hook? You know, like one of the things I did in Impact System was the fact that like, you know, Jim is using CIA technology that he used to predict terrorist attacks, to predict things in the financial markets, to make money. That's kind of incongruent. Like no one's, that seems weird, strange. You know, and the fact you can make money from currency wars. So usually currency wars in people's mind at the time was something bad. So finding the positive thing of something that could be negative is pretty incongruent. So looking at all your compelling information, what can you actually remove out and just tease in your lead? So how can you give them partial information about the information, the most compelling parts? Social proof, another proof you want to add to the lead. We'll get more on proof next week, but your lead needs proof. Sometimes you want to use your strongest proof in the lead. Typically that's social proof. You do kind of financial or opportunity-based offers. Credibility, authority elements can be used to create trust. So they need to know who's talking to them and why they should listen. Think of like what questions are they going to be immediately asking themselves. And sometimes that's actually, if you could think of the question they're going to think of after reading your headline, that's a great first line, right? Sometimes you can use a question for your first line. That's what, maybe exactly what they're thinking after reading that headline. And the last step is, it's okay to model other successful leads, but don't plagiarize. We've gone over that before. It's a good idea actually to have a couple other leads and kind of model what they're doing and try to replicate that in your own words, of course. So that's kind of the step-by-step. I can give you a handout here you can look at your own called Elements of a Great Lead. I hit a lot of these things already. You know, one of the things I didn't mention yet would be like pacing and leading. That's another technique. It's from NLP or hypnosis. Pacing and leading basically means at some point you got to kind of sync up with their world and what they're thinking, and kind of follow along with them a little bit, and then at that point, then you kind of lead them the direction you want to go. If you look at this packet here about End of America, it's a great line where Mike Palmer wrote it, did that. Pacing and leading.
End of America is on page, I think it's 3 in that handout.
Yeah, like one way he paced and led is like, my guess said, as you read this letter, you'll say, there's no way this could really happen, not here. But just remember, no one believed me 3 years ago when I said the world's largest mortgage bankers. So it's kind of bringing up an objection, because people are probably really thinking, right? Like, no way it could happen here. And then he's like answering that question. You can also see it in the John Carlton ad, the one-legged golfer one, which is a great hook, of course, classic hook, one-legged golfer. Where he's talking about Michael O'Leary and like where he is with his golf games, selling a golf course, golf, how to do a better golf swing, kind of, I think it was videos course. You know, he stood at the ledge of lake holding my bag overhead, one emotional hair trigger from tossing the whole mess and never stepping up to another ball the rest of my life. He's trying to like engage in their world there and kind of pace them and eventually lead them to the next sentence, like, doesn't it drive you nuts? I find no consistency in my game at all. You know, and he's trying to get you to the kind of the punchline of that would be that you know, he's got a solution to that problem. So you guys can go on these on your own, but like one thing you might do with these different examples of a lead is maybe count all the info gaps. Just circle them or with a highlighter or a different pen and see how many you'll find. I mean, you'll be shocked. Like I was surprised looking at End of America how many times he kept talking about this event, this thing coming, this situation I want to tell you about. He never said what the fuck it was, right? I mean, because we know later it gets to the point how it's the, you know, the dollar is going to cease to be the world reserve currency, and that's going to cause all these terrible things. But in the lead, he doesn't say that. That's really his big idea, is that prediction and the consequences of that. But like, he never says that at all. And the last lead to have in this packet is probably my second favorite promo of all time, the Insider Code. And again, you can look through like what it really is about. Like I'll give you the spoiler alert: is trading the forex market using this special kind of technique of following the banks. Like he doesn't mention forex at all in this entire lead. He calls it a, you know, that's what the hidden money mountain is. The hidden money mountain is like the forex market, and then you know, he's telling all these things about how it's very sensitive information. You know, like you know, I'm going to guide you to this mountain of money, and you know, the world's been quiet. While the world's been quietly stock watching Elite play a different game with different rules. He never says what that game is. He never says what the rules are. So you can see those info gaps. So that's an exercise you should definitely do after this session. We'll take these three and like just circle